So it looks like in the beginning of Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom is going to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending to be a hero, but is actually the villain. And of course, we know this. I mean, it's Avengers Doomsday. Robert Downey Jr. is returning to play Doctor Doom, one of the most iconic villains in superhero history. We know he's going to be the villain of the film, but how he goes from hero to villain and why he is actively choosing to destroy the multiverse is a very specific reason that Doctor Doom actually has. And along this journey, Doctor Strange is going to join him. And that's why we've seen that leaked concept art of Doctor Doom on his throne with Sheriff Strange, Doctor Strange, right next to him. And it is a little like the comics, but there is a little bit of a different twist to it. So let's dive into many Easter eggs that actually are leading Doom specifically to the Earth 616 universe, because I think that's actually a big question. Why are the Fantastic Four going to specifically our 616 sacred timeline, especially if Reed Richards doesn't know much about multiversal travel yet? Well, the first thing we have to do is go back to a report that we heard a couple of weeks ago that states Doctor Doom is actually on that ship with the Fantastic Four. So in the post-credit scene of the Fantastic Four First Steps, Doctor Doom shows up. We know that, but instead of kidnapping Franklin like we thought we were going to see, he shows up, kidnaps Franklin, leaves, and that's why the Fantastic Four go to the 616 universe. It's not going to be like that, according to this report, if it is accurate. If it's accurate, Doom is actually on board that ship with them, specifically going to 616. And this kind of does check out because in the Fantastic Four First Steps, Reed had just figured out teleportation. So it doesn't seem like he's figured out time travel yet or multiversal travel yet. And they're all different, right? Sure, there's some similarities, but they are different. So yes, the post-credit scene is a little bit of a time jump into the future. Maybe Reed has figured it out, but we know that Doom has definitely figured it out. And we know that Doom has a way to kind of see everything because we know that he finds out Steve Rogers caused an incursion that affected him. So he clearly has some way to see the multiverse and kind of the timelines and all the points in time, right? Because you'd have to go back in time to see Steve Rogers make an incursion, right? Accidentally, of course, but that would eventually go on to destroy Doom's universe. And that's what we've basically heard is going to happen. Doom had a wife, had a son, or had children, and they were destroyed because of an incursion or something that Steve Rogers particularly did. So Doom is in the Fantastic Four ship, according to that report, going to the MCU. And according to My Time to Shine Hello, in Avengers Doomsday, Victor Von Doom asked the Fantastic Four for help with the incursions. They travel together to the MCU in their ship to warn everyone, then join forces to head to the X-Men universe, the source of the next incursion, to stop it before that universe destroys their own. But Doom, I think at this point in time in the movie, when we see him unite with the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and the X-Men, has already decided or has already figured out that the multiverse can't be saved. I do believe at first Doctor Doom was trying to save the multiverse. And this is probably something they're going to show us. So after the events that happened to his family, he was probably pretty vengeful. And he does want to know why it happened. But I think at first, he's not so vengeful because he doesn't know the actual reason why it happened. All he'll know in the beginning is that an incursion happened and it destroyed his universe and his family. So he will go throughout time trying to fix the multiverse, trying to stop incursions from happening, maybe try to go back in time and discover the source of it. And that's when he'll actually discover two things. One is that Steve Rogers did something that directly caused an incursion with his world that made him lose his family. That's why he's going to seek Steve Rogers in Avengers Doomsday. That's why we got that first trailer for Steve Rogers in the movie. But then two, I think he'll realize that the multiverse can't be saved. We're past that point, I think. It's kind of like a domino effect. At least that's how it is in the comics. The first incursion happens and it basically sets off a domino effect and the entire multiverse is basically going to be destroyed. And in Avengers Secret Wars and Time Runs Out in the comics, that is ultimately what happens. The entire multiverse gets destroyed until there's about, I think it's 12 universes left in the comics, and then the final incursions happen, the entire multiverse gets destroyed, Doctor Doom creates Battleworld. But I think that's Doctor Doom's plan right now. And the way that I think it differs from the comics is in the comics, it's kind of a last minute decision with Doctor Doom. He is trying to save the multiverse. He's trying to stop incursions from happening. He's been going throughout a very long time in the comics with Molecule Man, trying to kill other Molecule Men to stop the explosions from happening and killing universes. But ultimately, at the end, he realizes that it's just going to happen. The multiverse is going to be destroyed. And so at that point in time, Doctor Strange is with him, and Doctor Doom tells him his plans and says, we can't save it, but shouldn't we save something? Isn't it worth it? And Doctor Strange says, yeah, it's worth it to save one thing. So I think we're already at that point. I think we're already at that point in Avengers Doomsday. I'm sure they'll show us some backstory, and I'm sure Doom will say, I tried, right? I tried to save the multiverse. I tried to stop incursions from happening. It's already begun. It can't be stopped. So Doom's real plan, and why he's pretending to be the hero, is to actually rule over just one universe himself, which we know is going to happen in Secret Wars for Battleworld. This is different because it's premeditated and calculated. That's how it's different from the comics. Why does he seek Steve Rogers now? For revenge, right? I think there was a lot of things that could have been the reason why we're seeing Steve Rogers, but I think Doom really actually does seek revenge for Steve for causing an incursion that kills his own world and his family. So now how is he going to rule the multiverse? How is he going to get the power to actually become the ruler? Well, we know that he's collecting things, right? He's collecting things like Franklin Richards. He might not kidnap him at first, but I think he ultimately does. There's also Love, who has the powers of eternity, but I don't believe he's just going to be collecting people. I actually think he's going to seek some objects, and this is why he specifically goes to 616. I think a lot of people are forgetting about this, but the beacon that the 10 rings set off, we saw this in the post-credit scene for Shang-Chi, while I'll just call them the new Avengers, not the Thunderbolts new Avengers, but Bruce Banner, Captain Marvel, Wong, with Shang-Chi and Katie, they were inspecting the rings and they said it set off a beacon, right? To who? Well, of course, they didn't say. Now, originally, that was supposed to be for Kang. Now that Kang's out of the equation, I think Marvel will just simply change it and say it was for Doom. So Doom is seeking out not just powerful people, but powerful objects as well. Basically, any type of power that he himself can harness. Right? And we've already seen the official concept art where he has the two emblems on his chest. One is the Captain Marvel emblem. The other one is Thor. We see Thor's hammer and the Captain Marvel star. So it seems like he somehow has gathered power already, perhaps from a Thor from a different universe, a Captain Marvel from a different universe. We've actually heard that his suit, his armor has certain powers that keep his body kind of intact. Like it's not just his face that's scarred, it's his entire body. And if you survived an incursion, yeah, maybe he's messed up pretty bad. But I think he comes to Earth because of that beacon, and also a beacon from the Bangles, which Kamala Khan and Captain Marvel have. And I think this could actually be how they go to the X-Men universe, because in the X-Men universe, we know that Monica Rambeau is there, and Captain Marvel's going to go to the X-Men universe trying to get her back, and she's going to have a bangle, which is going to send a signal. So Doctor Doom is going to follow the signal of the 10 rings and one of the bangles to the 616 universe. And then if Captain Marvel's in the X-Men universe, Doom will say, okay, hey, we have to go to this next universe. We have to go there because it's the cause of an incursion, right? It's going to have an incursion with your universe, so we have to go there to fix it. But really, he wants two things from that universe. Two things. He wants the bangle, I believe. If Captain Marvel is already there, there's a chance that she just stays in 616 when Doom gets there. But the other reason would be the Phoenix Force. Because we saw the X-Men trailer yesterday. Cyclops is just going crazy. It's amazing. Perfect scene. A lot of people are saying at this point in time, Marvel likes to kind of edit things out of trailers. Perhaps there's, maybe a dead Jean Grey there somewhere. Or perhaps, Doom takes one of Cyclops' kids who has the Phoenix Force. Either way, I do believe that is what Doom seeks from the X-Men universe, the Phoenix Force, because it does seem like he really is trying to grab truly powerful people and objects so he can have that power for himself. So the 10 rings, the Bangles, Eternity, who has some of the powers of Eternity, Franklin Richards, who has the power cosmic. It makes a lot of sense. So during this journey, I think at some point in time, obviously he's going to reveal that he's the villain, blah, 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 blah. And then ultimately, I think he's going to reveal his plans to Doctor Strange. And I think this happens in the Library of Worlds, We've heard a couple of reports at this point in time that the Library of Worlds is going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and it's going to be kind of Doom's base. And if you're not familiar with what that is, in the comics, I always confuse those two, comments and comics. In the comics, it's created by the Beyonders, who created the multiverse, essentially, and it was used for them to be able to kind of observe everything. And you can go to any universe from the Library of Worlds, and you can observe everything, and it has a record of everything that has happened. So that is how Doom is going to know everything that has happened throughout time, and that's how he'll discover that Steve Rogers was actually the person who caused the incursion that caused the death of his family. So once Doctor Strange gets there, Doom is going to tell him his plan. And I think he'll just say, like, trust me, you'll see my side on this. Let me show you. He takes him to the Library of Worlds, and he shows him a couple things. One is that, and this is picking off from Multiverse of Madness, so directly picking up on Doctor Strange's story, he shows him that he himself and his variants, Doctor Strange variants, have caused a lot of incursions, and he's a pretty big reason why the multiverse is going to be destroyed. But then he shows him that it can't be stopped. It's a domino effect. The multiverse will indeed be destroyed. And much like in the comics, he's going to tell him, isn't it better to save one thing than let everything die? And he's going to say, I can do this, but there's something in the way. Loki. Now, the Library of Worlds is great because it exists outside of space and time. So the TVA can't see him. But we've heard a lot of reports at this point in time that says a big giant battle happens at the TVA and Doom ultimately wins. I mean, we know Doom's really going to win in this film because that takes us to Secret Wars and Battleworld. So ultimately, Strange decides to join Doom. And we just heard a recent report that, yes, this is going to happen because Doctor Strange does it out of necessity. Not that he thinks the heroes are bad or anything, but he truly believes that this is the best way to survive, right? Doom probably says, I can take, the people of 616 universe, I can take some X-Men, I could take basically what's left of the surviving worlds and put them all into one and save everybody, right? That's kind of going to be how Doom is going to go about things. And that's another kind of hero angle that Doom could not only believe about himself, but also pitch to other people. Like, look, it's all going to die no matter what. But if I get the power, I will save parts of all of our universes and we'll all live. And isn't living better than dying? Yes. Right. But then obviously some people are going to be like, no, like we should try to save everything, like, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how Doom says, look, it's my way. I've seen everything. Get out of my way. I'm doing this my way. And then that's when obviously he's like revealed as the really, really big villain. So he destroys the TVA, I believe, so they can't interfere because they're obviously a huge, I don't even know, like multiversal agency, right? And, Loki's at the top of that. And we've heard Loki has just a tremendous story in this. And even Tom Hiddleston himself says this has never been done. And his role is just gigantic. So at the end, I believe he takes out the TVA and essentially does what Kang did. Again, Kang and Doom, I think really Doom is just kind of replacing Kang in a lot of ways, especially when it came to like the TVA, Sacred Timeline, all of that stuff. I do believe Doom is basically going to end up like He Who Remains. He's going to have just one universe, secluded, and the entire multiverse will be destroyed, and it'll just be his way, which will be Battleworld, and everything will be under his control. Except he will be there on that planet ruling as God Emperor Doom, which I think is his downfall, because if he's there physically, he can be attacked physically. So those who go up against him eventually, the Avengers, they take him out. And that's probably what Doctor Strange might see as well. Even though he doesn't have the time stone, he might figure out a way to kind of see different realities play out. And he realizes that, yes, everything is going to be destroyed. So the best option is to join Doom. So eventually he could attack Doom, right? Keep your enemies close. So that is what I believe Doom's real plan is for Avengers Doomsday and how some certain scenes are going to play out in Avengers Doomsday. And I do believe they're going to tie in the 10 rings and the Bengals. At least I would really think and hope that they would, because they're story plots that we've already seen set up in the MCU so far. But go ahead, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all things relating to Avengers Doomsday and Marvel. And of course, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.